Do you find yourself enjoying F-Zero 99, but are always getting knocked out or even struggling to place high? Are you lost on how to improve or just have general questions on what you should do? Well, you are in luck. In this video, I will go over some basic tips, tricks, and strategies I have noticed in my playtime of F-Zero 99 that will help you improve your play and hopefully propel you to place first in your next race. I do want to note that these are anecdotal things I have experienced in my playtime. While I consider myself to be good at the game and F-Zero in general, there may be things I talk about that you already know about the game. In that case, give yourself a pat on the back, because that means you are already well on your way to improving your play and getting better. And before I begin, I do want to give a very quick thank you to all of you. When I uploaded my F-Zero 99 first impressions video yesterday, I really did not expect it to get over 1,000 views. I mainly expected it to be maybe my friends and family that watched it, but it did really well relative to my other videos, and I'm really happy with that. So again, thank you all for watching it. The first tip you should know about is how to properly do a boost start at the beginning. Just like in F-Zero Super Nintendo, you can immediately start holding down the accelerator when the race starts. If you do this, you'll shoot out but then stall out for a little bit. In F-Zero Super Nintendo, what you're supposed to do is remedy that by positioning yourself to get bumped by one of the AI drivers. But that's not a thing in F-Zero 99. So what you should be doing instead is on the 30 ellipsis before the race starts, that's when you start accelerating. You'll shoot out just as before, but you won't stall out, and you'll be able to get close to the front of the pack. You should also get very in tune with whatever machine you prefer to use. In F-Zero 99, there are of course the 4 SNES machines that you could play as, and there is not really one that is definitively better than the others. What they do instead is they have different play styles. While the Blue Falcon is very jack of all trades, master of none, the Golden Fox is really good at breaking away from the pack and front running, at the cost of dying in very few hits. The Wild Goose recovers energy very low, but it's very sturdy and very good for KOing other opponents, while Fire Stingray is the fastest machine with the best handling. However, it has the worst acceleration, so if you get bumped out, it's going to be very hard to get to the front without using acceleration. The machines all control differently, they handle differently, they slide differently, they drift differently. Whichever one you prefer for your playstyle, you should get very in tune with. When you boost, you slide more or less depending on the machine. When you're boosting, maybe on some machine you should blast tap instead of just normal drift turning. A blast tap is hammering the accelerator as you're turning to constantly brake and regain grip as you're going. It's most useful for Fire Stingray, but it can be applicable to any machine in the right circumstance. If you like to front run and try to always be in first, maybe Golden Fox is the machine for you. If you really like to scrap, fight, and defend, then maybe Wild Goose is for you. Whichever machine you like the most, I recommend you get very in tune with it. Of course, that doesn't mean you have to min-max just playing one machine or not. You can play any machine you want. But just whichever you prefer right now is the one that you should get very in tune with, and know to the point where you don't have to actively think about how to churn or how to move. If you get bumped, if you're boosting, if you hit one of the snail AI drivers, or if you run out of energy, what you should do. A big strategy I want to emphasize is when to use the Super Boost in Skyway versus when not to use it. It's very tempting as soon as you fill up the Super Spark meter to just activate the Super Boost and get out of whatever situation you're in, when really you shouldn't. You should hold on to it and maybe wait to a certain part of the track to activate it. Depending of course on your position, if you're in the front it lasts less, if you're in the back it lasts longer. But the Skyway does not drop you off on curved turns, it only drops you off on straightaways. So there are certain parks on the track that if you activate the Skyway boost, regardless of your position, if it would end, if the meter would run out on a curve, it will wait until you're on a straightaway to drop you off. You could stay in the Sky Boost then for much longer than you're supposed to. That naturally segues into my next point that I want to bring up, and you should know the tracks as much as you can. Not just general race lines of where should I be before this turn versus after and what path should I be generally following, but also shortcuts, stuff like the Whiteland 1 jump boosts or even the Mute City 1 rough patches that you could boost through to cut across, which would be faster than going through the normal path. Try to get to know the tracks as well as you can. If you don't really know what you're doing, you could just follow what the people in front of you are doing, because there's a good chance with there being 90 other players that they know what to do. As you learn the tracks more and more, you also start to figure out some stuff. If a lot of people like to follow the optimal line on a track, you can go for a different part or a different line so that you don't run into them and you can conserve energy or maybe pick up their super sparks so they leap behind. Also, in general, if you see a machine get KO'd and you see the black patch of ground that they leave behind, don't go over it. If you go over that patch, you will actually lose speed. An important thing to note is when you use a jump pad, hold down on the D-pad or control stick, whichever you use. You will stay in the air longer and you will do a smooth land where you do not lose any speed, as opposed to being in the air for less time and landing roughly and losing some speed, which you will notice with the bouncing around animation. Attacking, defending, and KOing other machines in F-Zero 99 is integral to the gameplay. When you KO another machine, you recover energy. If it's an AI machine, like one of the snails, it's only partially some of your energy. If you KO a human opponent, you gain back all of your energy plus more. It's really beneficial because there's only one pit area on each track where you could normally recover energy. However, because your energy is your health, maybe you've boosted before and you're running low, or you haven't boosted enough and you've got a lot of health but you're pretty low in the pack. You have to know when to play aggressive and when to play defensive. It all goes down to the situation you end up in. A situation you may want to play aggressive in is that, let's say you're in 7th place and you got a good amount of HP and it's the final lap and you see that the people in front of you are kind of slowing down. Maybe they start to smoke or they're just going slow to be cautious. Then would be a great time to play aggressive and to boost forward and to try and spin attack them. If you KO, you get the energy back, and if you miss, well then you just engage in a fight. If you are running low on health and you're near the top and you see people are catching up to you, then it's time to play more defensive. Take wider lines, don't be as precise, spin attack to defend yourself. It's a very good thing to note that spin attacking isn't just dealing damage to other players. When you spin attack, you also prevent yourself from taking any damage, so it has defensive applications as well. If you sense that somebody is right on your tail and you're at low HP, go ahead and spin attack just to protect yourself. If you don't end up hitting them or they don't come at you, that's fine. It's all about risk-reward. It's important to note that there are many little variables that determine what type of situation you're in. The type of machine you're using versus your opponent, if they're smoking or not, the speed, the placement on the course, everything. If a machine is smoking, that means that one more spin attack will more than likely KO them. And if you KO them, you get all that energy back and it's great. If you find yourself playing more defensive or more aggressive than the other style, that's perfectly okay too. But I would still recommend you practice just on normal 99 mode, going all out on the other side, either being fully aggressive or being fully defensive, so that you can hone your play in both sides. There is a time trial mode in the game itself that lets you practice the courses without any AI interference or any other players being in your way. And that is a very good way to learn the courses, when you should boost versus when you should not boost, what line you should take versus what line you shouldn't take, and much more. Above everything else I mentioned, the most important thing is keeping your head in the game. Statistically speaking, there are 98 other players on the course. You have about a 1% chance of winning. Because of that, don't harp on yourself if you place really low or if you get knocked out. There are many other players playing at the exact same time. Some of them are below your skill level, some of them are above. Some of them get luckier, maybe they end up with a better boost. Sometimes stuff doesn't work out. Just because you place 4th or 5th and not 1st, or even place something like 13th or 15th, it's not a bad thing. You have to keep in mind of the competition and to keep your head in the game. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you choke, sometimes you want to get mad. Hell, I've lost more Grand Prix than I could count in the last few days, but you have to remember that A, it's just a game to have fun, and B, you can shake it off and do better next race. Figure out what you did that led to your current placing, whether it was getting knocked out, placing 40th, or even placing 19th, and see what you can do to improve the next time you end up in a situation like that. If, let's say, you're on Mute City 1, and it's the final lap, and you're in 5th place, and you start boosting, but you start getting knocked around, and you don't have any more energy to boost again, and you end up in 19th, well then maybe you should conserve your energy better. And boost only a few times instead of all the times you already did. Boost maybe 2 times less or just 1 time less. If you got knocked out, figure out how you got to the point where you lost your health so much. Whether it's because your health got knocked out because of getting attacked, or you kept hitting the other AI drivers, or you just kept bouncing on the walls. In those cases, you could figure out, well, I need to improve my driving. Oh, I need to improve avoiding getting hit. I need to improve on this or that, etc. On top of all that, energy management is probably the most integral thing in the game. Because your health is your energy, you have to know when to conserve it versus when to use it. It's not a bad idea to just hold all your energy until literally like the last lap and then go all out. On the flip side, it's okay to expend all your energy to jump out early and then try to make it up with smart boosts and good driving. That is, of course, is if you're able to retain your position on the track. Energy management is really important, and I'd say if you're able to get down your strategy with it, you can start outplacing people immediately. It is the most valuable resource in the game, bar none. F-Zero 99 is a game that constantly puts you in new situations that are similar to ones that you've already experienced. You have to know what to do in those situations in various ways. Hopefully, this video gave you a bit of a guide on what you should do versus what you should not do, and some things to work on, and maybe you discover something you didn't know about the game. Thank you all for watching, I hope this helped, and I'll see you in my next video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you.